Good afternoon. I would like to call the Health, Human Services, and Aging Committee Wednesday, November 22nd to order. It is currently 12:32. Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
As a reminder to all in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll for Ms. Conwell.
Present.
Mr. Sweeney.
Present.
Ms. Stevens. Ms. Stevens is absent. Ms. Turner.
Present.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right. Madam Clerk, has anyone signed in for public comment?
No, Madam Chair, no one has signed in.
Right. Before we get started and approve the minutes, I just want to say and wish everyone happy Thanksgiving tomorrow. Apologize for this, but we're giving thanks to give to so many people in need today. So thank you for coming. Make a motion for an approval for the minutes from the November 1st, 2023 meeting.
I'll second that motion.
Right, so moved by Miller, seconded by Turner. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, minutes have been approved. We have several matters referred to the committee today. This is why we had to come in earlier, so we can try to get through everything before the 3 o'clock committee starts today. So,
Madam Chair, I would just mention that your book is council meeting length.
right, so we'll just hold that up for you. This is the agenda for today, so I'm going to keep this as prosperity. This is just all HHS, so yes, it's very heavy and very thick. Madam Clerk, if you could read the first item into the record, please.
Resolution 2023-0329, authorizing a contract with United Way of Greater Cleveland in the amount not to exceed $2,440,900 for fiscal agent services and emergency food purchase assistance by hunger centers serving eligible Cuyahoga County residents for the period January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2025.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. As each individual comes up, please state your name for the record. And there are some representatives that I asked to join us from the community as community partners, and they will be asked to come up as well. So please remember to state your name for the record. Push the button, it should be green, and let's continue.
Great. Good afternoon, David Merriman from the Department of Health and Human Services. First, I want to thank you, Councilwoman Conwell, as chair of this committee, for bringing us in a half an hour early. This may be unprecedented, the amount of work that we have referred to this council and this committee, and I appreciate your consideration. I want to thank Councilman Miller, Sweeney, and Turner for also adjusting your schedules to be here today. It means a lot to us as we close this year. Our providers, we've all made a concerted effort to make sure contracts get done, payments occur, and you're doing your part in making yourselves available, and we just sincerely appreciate that. I do want to also acknowledge, given the length of the agenda, my comments will be very brief. I'm going to wrap up in a few seconds here, but I do want to say that I will be here with Marcos Cortez. Marcos will take the lead. He will present each item, and I have just direction to the county staff that are here: be brief, be concise. There are many items before us, and there are other committees to happen today. And everybody's here to share facts and information and answer any questions council's provided. We do not need to belabor any single item. And if there's a question we can't answer, please state that. We will come back with an answer. And I would humbly suggest the same for our community partners that have come today. Sincerely appreciate them making their time available on a holiday week. But, there are other items on the agenda, and we will get through this agenda together, and I thank you very much for your leadership. I'm going to kick this over to Marcos to start us off with the United Way contract.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Again, my name is Marcos Cortez. I'm with Health and Human Services. This is a contract with United Way to serve as the fiscal agent to perform administrative duties related to the distribution, monitoring, and oversight of Cuyahoga County funds to meet the emergency food needs in the county. Through these funds, the Hunger Network, on behalf of their affiliated hunger centers, purchases food and non-food hygiene items directly from the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. The food bank ensures that there is a diverse inventory of food that meets community needs, preferences, and cultural values. The food bank and the Hunger Network also conduct annual Hunger Center site visits to ensure compliance with food safety and additional requirements. The Greater Cleveland Food Bank provides food that align with Feeding America's the Food to Encourage network. They will provide, United Way provides administrative oversight. They provide evaluation on the impact of the food distribution, and they provide oversight of these funds and conduct those site visits, as I mentioned.
At all? Okay, I have a question, Marcos. There was an increase in the administration of the contracts before. Where are we at with that?
There has been no changes to the contract and the funding for the last couple of years.
Okay. Councilman Miller?
I would just ask whether it would be appropriate to raise the contract amount by 50,000 in response to the additional number that's been agreed to in the draft budget that was passed out of committee on Monday.
I believe that there is a shortage in the funding that's provided. We don't have representatives here from United Way, but they sent me some information, a presentation that they would have presented had they come. And in there, they describe a shortage of funding for this program.
Okay, is that a shortage, just for confirmation, in the food or the actual, in the administration of the contract?
I believe it would be food, not the administration part of it.
There's a request, Mr. Cortez, for increasing this contract to 50,000. Is that, I don't think we need the providers here for that. David, can you shed some light on that, please?
So I do believe this was, this contract was initiated prior to the council budget session. But, you know, if there's an interest to add $50,000 to the contract, we certainly accept that and understand it will help us meet the needs of our community. So it's not something that there's specific opposition to.
All right, so.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilman.
Based on the fact that no opposition was expressed to that concept at the budget hearings, and I expect that it's going to pass, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we amend this resolution and raise the not-to-exceed amount to $2,490,900 to reflect the action in the budget hearings.
Second.
All right, is that the 50,000 added in there?
Right.
All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Councilwoman, if I could ask, if I think my proposal, I'd like to work with the law department on this. If there's the fastest route for us is to close the current contract as it's currently stated and then bring back an amendment, I'd like the ability to do that because there's a contract already moving through. That would then enable us to bring in an amendment of $50,000 that can be executed more efficiently. I don't know what makes the most sense.
We can have that, we've moved it out of committee just now to the full council, and so that amendment can be given for the full council, next full council meeting, which is November 20.
Can I clarify, is that 50,000 each year or 50,000 total?
It's 25,000 per year. It's a total of 50,000 over the length of the 2-year contract.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair, can you clarify what this action is? Are we amending this, or are we
We're
going
not
to do a
amending,
proposed substitute?
we're
at second
passing
reading?
it. We've just voted and passed it out to the full council committee of the whole, and then they will get it, in the meantime, they'll get an amendment, and we'll discuss it on the floor that night.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Madam Clerk, if you could read the next item into the record, please.
Did we vote to move this
Yes.
out? We did, okay.
We can say it again. All in favor, say aye. It was a motion, it was a second. All right.
Resolution 2023-0330, authorizing an amendment to a master contract with various providers for community-based services to support at-risk children and families in Cuyahoga County for the period April 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2023, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2024, and for additional funds in the total amount not to exceed $4,912,734.60.
Marcos Cortez again with Health and Human Services on behalf of Children and Family Services. This is a second amendment to a master agreement contract with various agencies to provide community-based services to at-risk children and families. The providers deliver high-quality, innovative, and promising practice services to at-risk children, teens, and families in order that caregivers or birth parents, foster parents, and/or other kinship caregivers can provide a safe, stable, and nourishing environment for children and youth. Services must be easily accessible, timely, and effective. The overarching goals of these services are to help parents enhance their skills and resolve problems to prevent entry into the child welfare system and to lessen the time in the system for those already involved. This is our last amendment from the original contract. We will be issuing a new RFP in the middle of 2024. We do have representatives here from the department, Director Jackie Fletcher, and we also have Lavelle Custard from Murtis Taylor, one of the providers.
So may I ask, my first question would be, why would we do the RFP in the middle of 2024?
For services to begin January 1st, 2025. It usually takes about 6 months or so to issue the RFP, review, score, and make the awards.
I did have questions. Okay, who is here from the community?
Lavelle Custard from Murtis Taylor.
All right, please come up.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of council. My name is Lavelle Custard, President and CEO of Murtis Taylor, and also serving as the chair of the Council of Neighborhood Leaders. The Council of Neighborhood Leaders represents Catholic Charities St. Martin de Porres, Catholic Charities Fatima, City of Lakewood, CMHA, Harvard, the Centers, the Westside Community Services Center, East End Neighborhood House, and Murtis Taylor Human Services. Madam Chair, speaking as the chair of the CNL, or the Council of Neighborhood Leaders, we're in full support of the community-based services contract amendment as presented, and we urge the county to pass it. And we are very thankful to Director Cortez, Director Fletcher, and Administrator Merriman for working very hard this year to move this along in a timely manner so that we don't run into a payment processing issue going into 2024 as we had last year.
Okay. My question would be to the president as what has been, I know you're representing CNL as a whole, but what has been the funding implications to this contract, or has there been any?
So, Madam Chair, speaking as the CEO of Murtis Taylor and here also representing Harbor Community Services Center, CMHA, as well as East End Neighborhood Center, there has been within this contract no change in the total amount to the Council of Neighborhood Leaders plus University Settlement, which is not a member of the council. And so that has stayed the same. However, early in last year, utilizing a utilization formula with respect to the number of children in county involved in DCFS, there was a shift in the amounts within the contract. That shift in amounts impacted the four organizations that I mentioned by $631,000. Throughout 2023, we have successfully, the four organizations, which is Murtis Taylor, East End, Harvard Community Services, and CMHA, we've drawn on other funds to fill that gap. We do understand the concept of utilization. However, we believe that that mechanism did not take into consideration the cost of delivering services that are unique within the various organizations, nor do we think it took into consideration the prevention work that we actually do. And so as we talk about what's happened in 2023, we've been successful in maintaining the levels of service. But now, with respect to moving into 2024, we have a 12-month period where these four organizations just do not have the resources and funds to fill that gap, that money being moved to other members within the Council of Neighborhood Leaders. And it has put us in a position of effectively crippling our programs. To be real clear, whereas the amounts have changed and we've been given total latitude to modify and adjust our budgets within this program within our organizations, the deliverables haven't changed. So we still have to deliver the services. And when clients, approach our doors for prevention work or intervention work and we don't have the funds in terms of client emergency assistance, or we've had to cut staff, we're in a position of not being able to fully execute on those deliverables, or the potential in 2024 of not being able to fully execute those on those deliverables. So if there is a request to be heard, we are asking that somehow that $633,000 be reinstated within the four organizations: Murtis Taylor Human Services, East End Neighborhood House, Harvard Community Services Center, and the Cuyahoga County Metropolitan Housing Authority.
All right, thank you, Mr. Custard. Any questions for Mr. Custard from any of the committee? All right, I don't know, David, will you like to address this, or would it be Director Fletcher? I'd just like to state this is my heart and all of our hearts here, compassion for the neighborhoods and those that are in need, and the direction that this council would like to always have prevention out there, prevention dollars for the families that come in our need and just need that extra boost. And let's remember, the core reason is to keep children from coming in to the Jane Edna building. I know February 2023, I convened a meeting with Administrator Merriman and numerous county staff to address county payment issues. Those were taken care of. May 2023, Administrator Merriman met with Murtis Taylor and some of the providers, and was told that, I guess he told them nothing could be done with the cuts at that time to be restored based on the utilization. And the current day, the contract amendment for 2024 have made cuts to Murtis Taylor, East End, Harvard, and CMHA permanent. Based on the, and I know I've had plenty of conversations in regards to the utilization, but the last step in going with the utilization that was system that was came up with, I still don't understand when we all agreed that based on the utilization formula for the money being moved around, there were agencies spending the funds, but they were cut. And then they were the other agencies that still had money in their budget were given increases. So that's where we are. Can you please, Director, explain that to us?
So, Jackie Fletcher, Director, Division of Children and Family Services. Thank you, Director, President Custer, for being here. I definitely agree. We worked through some challenging conversations around utilization at the end of 22 coming into this year, and we still want to be able to look at different formulas, looking at the work that we've done with the Government Performance Lab and some of the recommendations that they've proposed to us, looking at prevention as one of our primary opportunities to maybe realign some type of formula and how we allocate resources. And we're still in that process. Some things we weren't able to do based on the recommendations in terms of being able to refer families out to providers if we screen out a referral, just some rules that won't allow us to do some of that work. So we're looking at that, and within the scope of the RFP, as we're going to be working on that, trying to really develop a better formula. So we're committed to that. Again, I think the partnership we have with the collabs for over these years, they're providing resources for the agency to go out in the community and do a series of community forums. So they're taking the lead on that. And these services are vitally important to our families in the community. So again, we're definitely committed to figuring out an equitable distribution of the resources as we move through this. So open to any suggestions or other conversations that we're going to be having with each of the providers. David, do you have anything else to add?
So again, David Merriman, Department of Health and Human Services. I think one of the things that we've had to do, looking at all of our contracts across all of our programs, is begin with some core questions. Every time we are managing either a specific agency's budget, or in this case, when we're dealing with a network of agencies, we begin with the question, are you spending out all the money you have? And are you fully utilizing the dollars that you are currently allocated? And if not, do you need additional dollars, or do you have more of an allocation that you need to utilize? So that has become one of the core functions that we are taking very seriously. I think we're all in this period watching inflation impact every single agency that we work with, knowing that our dollars have become scarce and that we have to be as sort of responsible and thoughtful with every single allocation that we can be. So I do think we look at our spending patterns within our partner organizations and make decisions to move dollars around. I will say that in this case, we've watched this. There's a request for us to make additional adjustments and to bring in new dollars. That's not something we were able to do in mid-year. I think Jackie talked about wanting to take another look at it moving forward. I don't have really anything to respond to in terms of what Mr. Custard shared. I think they've been great partners. We've looked at the services. I think adjustments are probably due. I know Jackie has new leadership that is taking on this, and I'd like to give them the opportunity to, complete this year, take a look at, was it the right funding strategy, and do we need to make adjustments moving forward?
Director Fletcher, what will be your timeline on this decision to equitably find a right formula?
So based upon some of the recommendations from the GPL, Amy, we really need to look at first quarter, continuing to bring everybody together, looking at utilization. Hopefully we'll have those numbers close to, end of first quarter. We'll know what our utilization reports look like for 2023, and then that can help inform, the direction that we want to go in. And I know that's a moving target, so that's always a hard one for us to look at. We know families are transient, they move around. Needs of our families change and ebb and flow. Our partners are good at, modifying their service delivery based on the needs of the family. So we want to look at some different metrics as well. But hopefully by the end of quarter one of 2024.
And GPO,
I'm sorry, the Government Performance Lab, the Harvard project.
Sorry, we do a lot of acronyms here. That
Sorry.
one didn't get me. I want to open it up to my colleagues. Any questions? None? All right. Hearing none. Mr. Custard and those that are out here or watching live stream for CNL, you've heard the administration's response. We will stay on it in terms of this committee following up after first quarter and making sure that they're, the adjustments are more equitable going forward. So anything else you guys would like to share?
Just one thing, this is a master services contract, so the beauty of the master services contract, if one agency is underperforming and not spending out their budget, we can reallocate it to another agency that does need the money, and that has happened this year.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask for a motion to move this to the full council? Does it need second reading suspension?
No, we do not, as long as it's approved by December 5th.
Let's do second reading suspension just in case.
I'll move that we favorably refer this resolution with recommendation for second reading suspension.
Is there a second? Second. All right, I gotta learn to look both ways. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
So this is moved to the full council for second reading suspension. Thank you. And the only reason I'm doing that is because December 5th is the last council meeting and you need a quorum, and I never know how that's going to be, so I don't want to take no chances. Madam Clerk, if you could read the next item into the record, please.
Resolution 2023-0331, authorizing an amendment to a master contract with various providers for family-centered support services for at-risk children and families for the period January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2023, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2024, to change the terms effective January 1st, 2024, and for additional funds in the total amount not to exceed $2,479,115.
Marcos Cortez again with Health and Human Services. Again, this is a master contract amendment with various providers who will provide timely evidence-based services that contribute to the stabilizing and strengthening of families to prevent the need for out-of-home care whenever possible. The goals are to improve family and youth functioning, prevent out-of-home placement, reduce involvement with the juvenile justice system. Some examples of these evidence-based services include high-fidelity wraparound, family focus, family preservation, parent-child interactive therapy, among others. This, again, is also the last amendment for this contract. We will be issuing an RFP, again, in the middle of 2024 for services to begin January 25. We do have Jackie Fletcher, Director of Children's Services, and Karen Storman available to answer any specific program questions.
I wanted to ask in particular, are there any of these providers, are any of them new?
No, this is an amendment to an existing contract. We did not add any new providers.
And no one came off?
No
in
one
between
came off,
there?
no.
Okay. Any questions for this? Everybody want to get home and cook Thanksgiving, I think. All right, can I have and Marcos, do you need this second reading suspension, or it can go to December 5th?
If it can go on December, all of these items that we submitted would has a January 1st start time. So if December 5th meeting is held, that would be 3 readings.
I'll make a motion to move R2023-0331 to the full council under second reading suspension. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Conwell, seconded by Turner. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Madam Clerk, if you could read the next one into the record, please.
Resolution 2023-0332, authorizing an amendment to a master contract with various providers for Medicaid home and community-based services for out-of-home placement and foster care services for the periods January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2023, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2024, to expand the scope of services, terminate contracts with various providers, and add new providers effective January 1st, 2024, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $61,500,000.
Marcos Cortez again. Again, this is an amendment for our out-of-home care contract. The purpose of this contract is to contract with agencies and organizations that can provide licensed, high-quality out-of-home care in the least restrictive environment that will result in a positive physical, cognitive, behavioral, and social outcomes for the children that are placed. These organizations provide quality therapeutic foster care, specialized foster care, group home care, independent living care, and residential care for children in the custody of DCFS. This is technically the 5th amendment of this contract. The previous amendments were to add additional providers. We are currently at 79 providers for this amendment.
Is there any questions from my colleagues in regards to this one? Seeing none, hearing none. Anything else you'd like to share about this, Mr. Cortez? Is this the board and care?
Yes.
Contracts? Okay. And these are the ones that, in terms of oversight for the board and care contracts, how do we maintain that? How do we check into where the children are actually staying?
We have Jackie Fletcher and Karen Storman from DCFS who could probably answer that better than
Please
I.
come up and share that, Director.
And Jackie Fletcher, Division of Children and Family Services. I have Karen Storman with me. She's been wonderful. I'm just going to put a plug out there. She was placed in the role of managing our out-of-home care services sometime earlier this year. I believe it was the end of last year, and she's done a phenomenal job in managing this placement crisis. We continue to experience treatment crisis, and she can talk through a little bit of, what we do to help manage kids. As we're placing, we're doing roughly 3,000 placement moves every year, and so that's just a lot of work, and she's managing the team very effectively. So can you speak to a little bit of
Hey, good afternoon. Karen Storman, Division of Children and Family Services. To your question, Madam Chair, we have a dedicated unit of staff that are assigned all of the providers on the master contract. So there are currently 4 staff, and between the 79 providers, they are responsible for conducting monthly meetings, either virtually or in person. Many of our providers are out of state, or out of county, so those providers, they do manage a little differently and travel kind of every other month to see them, but they do also not only see the children in person that are placed in those facilities or homes, they conduct meetings with the administration to make sure that the sites are meeting the expectations of the licensing board, and the children are cared for and the contractual obligations are met.
And I know I think 4 of the providers were new. So when we have new ones that come onto the contract, do we go out in person and kind of establish that instead of just trusting virtually since they're new providers?
Correct, yes, Madam Chair. There are site visits that occur either prior to or when the child is placed, and the 4 new providers that we've added at this time were necessary in order to meet some special accommodations. And we've had children move from licensed foster home agencies to new agencies, and so in order to avoid a disruption, we'd prefer to add that licensed agency that we can then continue to do business with that potentially could serve even more youth. We do have a new out-of-state provider, and that's because these children are an adoptive placement, and so we need to establish a mechanism to reimburse that provider. So a lot of these require some special circumstances, but they're also providing an opportunity to expand our potential for additional placements, which we're always constantly seeking.
In terms of many of the providers you stated were out of state, have we ever had any problems or inclinations that we need more oversight, or has this been working out okay?
Madam Chair, it's never our desire to place out of state. We have actually reduced that number significantly, and so that has been something that we are working to continuously place in terms of close to Cuyahoga in Ohio. The oversight seems to be managed well. Not only the specialty department that I referred to visits the children and the facility, the assigned staff are out visiting the children monthly. And so there are multiple opportunities to make sure that their needs are being met and the children are being cared for. So right now, I think we have a good handle on the out-of-state placements and our oversight.
All right, and when you do the monthly meetings, are the caseworker or whoever, special unit, are they speaking directly to the children as well?
Correct. They are to meet with the children as well as tour the facility to ensure that safety meets the licensing standards, yes.
Okay. Any questions from my committee? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. Anything else that you guys would like to share, or ladies? No?
So
All right.
I have
Councilman Miller?
one more question.
Yes.
My question is for calendar year 2022 and 23 for the current contract. Was the amount that was originally budgeted for this contract sufficient, or did we have to add additional funds during the course of the contract term?
Thank you for the question. I don't believe we had to add anything additional to the 2022-23 budget.
Thank you.
All right. Hearing no other questions, can I have a motion to move R2023-0332 to the full council under second reading suspension?
I so move.
Second.
Moved by Miller, seconded by Sweeney. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Madam Clerk, if you could read the next item into the record.
Resolution 2023-0333, authorizing an amendment to an agreement with the Metro Health System for comprehensive medical services for families involved with the Division of Children and Family Services for the period January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2024, to change the terms effective January 1st, 2024, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $1,889,151.49.
All right, on the last contract that we just covered, four of the providers were new, and they were not local, so I did not want to disturb their holiday, so they were not invited to come. All right, Marcos, please continue.
Marcos Cortez with Health and Human Services. With approximately 2,000 children and youth in care, DCFS has determined there is a need for full access to trauma-informed medical services that can appropriately address the significant challenges that children and youth are faced with when being removed from their home or placement. In order to pursue the safety, health, and well-being of children in custody, DCFS offers comprehensive medical services, including screening and assessment of health care needs of children and youth, comprehensive post-placement physical, and alcohol and drug testing for caregivers, youth, and other adults in the home. We are exercising our first option year for this contract with Metro. Again, we have Jackie Fletcher and Karen Storman from the division to answer any specific program-related questions.
My colleagues have any questions for Marcos? For the director? Right. I think I remember this not too long ago coming before us. Was there any changes whatsoever within this contract during?
This, I believe, is an increase over the last year's contract.
There is an increase? Yes. And so that increase will suffice to the additional, to 2024, you do believe?
That was based on, I believe, the utilization of what they've currently been providing and billing us for.
Okay.
So that should be sufficient.
Do you know what that increase was? Do you remember that from the last?
I don't have that in front of me, but I don't know if Karen Storman.
Good afternoon, Karen Storman, Division of Children and Family Services. Madam Chair, I don't have the dollar amount, but I will say that memory serves, it is related to the toxicology and drug screen portion of the contract because those costs have increased and the utilization of that service within this master contract. It covers not only the medical home for children in foster care, but the toxicology services that we use at Children and Family Services to ensure children are placed in a safe home with sober parents and so sober caregivers. And so that utilization has increased due to the community crisis around substance use. And so we had to address that related to an increase going forward. The utilization, the cost for the foster care medical home remained pretty consistent, so that didn't change, but we did see an increase in utilization for toxicology services. At the cost, I have it.
Madam Chair.
Councilman Miller?
So, have we considered anyone other than Metro for this contract, or has that been consistent right along?
We do issue an RFP for these services, and usually Metro is the only one that responds to this request.
And do we have any system of measuring quality of services and cost effectiveness? And if so, what are the results we're getting from those assessments?
Good afternoon. Karen Storman, Division of Children and Family Services. Councilman Miller, the agency has established a task force with Metro Health in partnership with Metro Health. We meet quarterly to discuss the outcomes that are identified in this contract and discuss any issues that would relate or require course correction. As far as the toxicology services, that's a little bit more challenging as far as measure. It is a service that is kind of required for case plan purposes. And so those services are monitored throughout the course of a child's case at Children and Family Services in terms of a family's success around sobriety and substance use. But to your question specifically, there are an ongoing standing committee that we will measure the outcomes. We measure the deliverables, which I have in front of me. The number of triages, so the real core context of the foster care services is that, we have to meet Ohio Administrative Code requirements in terms of triage and post-placement physicals. And so staff are meeting those standards. Metro Health is available 24/7 to our Children and Family Services staff. They are on call. So at this point, they are meeting the contract and meeting and or exceeding expectations in terms of the deliverables set forth.
And Madam Chair, to Ms. Storman, by way of follow-up, have there been any changes in method of service delivery or other changes as a result of these meetings?
Thank you for the question, Councilman Miller. There are, we've expanded our site for the record, this contract has been in place with Metro since 2013, I believe. And they have been our medical home partner in providing services at main campus for triage. As a result of an ask to be more accommodating to our staff and our children being placed across Cuyahoga, they've opened an east side location for triage sites. That just was effective this year. To your point about addressing issues that come up, we've also added some behavioral health services. They have added behavioral health services that are a result of a increased community need to address the complex needs of the children and families that we're serving. Those are also being administered. We've partnered with Metro to increase their capacity to assess our children more regularly and using state and trauma-informed tools. The Child and Adolescent Needs Assessment, the CANS assessment, was recently implemented, and Metro Health staff were trained in administration of this tool and are able to assist in enrolling our children in Ohio's Managed Care for Mental Health, Ohio RISE. So we are obviously constantly trying to meet the needs of our children, and Metro Health has been an excellent partner in continuing to move along with our demand and the changing landscape of behavioral health needs.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions all right, hearing none. Can I have a motion to move R2023-0333 to the full council under second reading suspension?
Second.
All right, so it's been moved by Turner, seconded by Miller. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, if you could read the next item into the record.
Resolution 2023-0334, authorizing an agreement with Cuyahoga County Board of Developmental Disabilities in the amount not to exceed $1,400,000 for Medicaid home and community-based services for youth with developmental disabilities for the period January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2025.
Marcos Cortez again. Under this agreement, the Cuyahoga County Board of Developmental Disabilities is responsible for the coordination provision of housing for DD youth as part of their youth long-term transition of care plan. The primary goals of the project is the coordination of care and supports for youth in DCFS custody with disabilities that are eligible for and are receiving services by the Board of DD. We do again have Jackie Fletcher here, and I believe Camille Combs from the Board of Developmental Disabilities who can answer any program-specific related questions.
All right, Ms. Camille. State your name for the record. And how is this contract going? And is there any changes from your perspective, agency perspective, with this contract?
Hi, Camille Combs. I'm actually from the Division of Children and Family Services. And I work in the multi-system kids unit, so I work directly with the Board of Disabilities for this project. It's going well. We have been able to actively transition about 20 children this year alone. The money also helps with any of our youths that are hard to place or hard to maintain in a traditional QRTP setting. So we have an agreement with DD to put them into a specialized DD setting, and that funding helps with that. It also helps with any children that are in our care that require specialized equipment. So we have been able to help over a dozen children as far as the specialized settings and get them out of the Jane Edna Hunter building with that.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, seeing none. All right, thank you. Director Fletcher, anything you'd like to add?
Jackie Fletcher, Division of Children and Family Services, just that the board has just been another excellent partner with the agency, transitioning our young folks over, when we need a stable placement, they're at the front of these conversations, helping us plan through, what that young person's needs will be. And so we're just really grateful for the partnership.
Thank you. Thank you both. All right, so I'd like to make an Amber from Developmental Disability. She was unable to come. So hopefully her happy Thanksgiving to her and her family. But R2023-0334, I'll make a motion to move that for the second reading suspension. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, moved by Conwell, seconded by Turner. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, Madam Clerk, if you could read the next item into the record, please.
Resolution 2023-0335, authorizing an agreement with Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office in the amount not to exceed $8,322,252 for legal services for the period January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2025.
Marcos Cortez with Health and Human Services. Under this agreement, the prosecutor's office will provide custody representation, general civil representation, appeals representation, and parent-relative locator services for DCFS. Tasks include draft of all complaints, draft necessary motions, pleadings, affidavits, appear at every court hearing with a county prosecutor's office, prepare county prosecutor's office experts and other witnesses for testimony, provide 24/7 on-call representation, handle records and subpoenas in juvenile court, briefs and argue all appeals in agency cases. This agreement is for an additional 2 years with the prosecutor's office. And we do have, again, Jackie Fletcher and I believe a representative from the prosecutor's office here, again, to answer any questions related to the program itself.
All right, Marcos, are there any changes to this contract?
I do not believe there was any dollar amount changed from the previous 2 years.
All right, Jackie. Yes, Councilman Miller.
How much of this work relates to child support?
I do not have an answer for you on that, but I don't believe it's related to child support.
All right.
Good afternoon, David Merriman, Department of Health and Human Services. This is not the child support prosecutor agreement. This is a prosecutor agreement just with the Division of Children and Family Services.
Okay, thank you.
All right, if we can bring up Jackie Fletcher and the representative from the prosecutor's office to add anything.
Good afternoon again, Jackie Fletcher, Division of Children and Family Services, here with Laura Brewster, supervising attorney in the prosecutor's office. Again, as you look at the continuum of services and supports we offer, the critical nature of the prosecutor's legal representation for the agency is paramount, and Laura can answer any questions that you may have related to the services.
All right, in your opinion, Ms. Brewster, any changes, or can you add to the dialogue if there's been anything new or anything you foresee that needs some help or whatever, or how the process overall is going?
Good afternoon, council members.
Excuse me, Ms. Brewster, can you speak into the microphone, please?
Oh, sorry, thank you. Laura Brewster, I'm the supervisor of the Children and Family Services Unit of the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office. And as you've heard, we provide all the legal representation for the division in juvenile court and in the 8th District Court of Appeals. Some significant changes have occurred in the past 2 years, which have increased the legal requirements for these cases. every child that's in the agency's custody that is placed in a qualified residential treatment placement, that placement requires approval by the court. So that's been an additional requirement for us to file those motions and get approval from the agency in order to be able to seek 4E reimbursement for those places. There's an additional requirement now for every child that's in the temporary custody of the division. They are required to make intensive efforts to locate relatives. That's a new requirement in the past few years. There's also a new legal requirement for all children in the temporary custody of the division to have a concurrent permanency plan on their case plan. So all of these new legal requirements, again, have just created more work for both the division and the prosecutor's office. We've been working really well together to manage all of those things. We're also seeing an increase in juvenile court in the number of home evaluations that they request in private custody and delinquency actions, as well as requests for caseworkers to appear at private custody cases to testify about any involvement that families have had with the Division of Children and Family Services. In addition to, the juvenile court can also, in delinquency matters, they can refer those as well to the Division of Children and Family Services when they feel the division is the more appropriate agency to manage those families' issues.
Right, a lot of changes. Ask my colleagues, are there any further questions for any of the representatives that are here? All right, seeing none, hearing none. I will ask for a motion to move R2023-0335 to the full council under second reading suspension. Is there a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Sweeney, seconded by Turner. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you all for bearing with us today. Madam Clerk, if you could read the next item into the record.
Resolution 2023-0336, making an award on requisition 12756 with various municipalities and providers in the total amount not to exceed $6,063,762 for the Community Social Services Program for the period January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2025.
Marcos Cortez with Health and Human Services on behalf of Senior and Adult Services. Again, this is a new master contract for the Community Social Services Program for the period of January 1st, 2024 through December 31st of 2025. The purpose of the CSSP program is for senior centers and community organizations to deliver high-quality services and innovative programming throughout Cuyahoga County. Services and/or programs will be targeted to adults age 60 and over or age 18 to 59 with a disability, with an emphasis on the effective engagement of those who might not otherwise participate in community activities or programming. Services provided include adult day service, adult development, transportation, meals, community outreach, senior services, and innovative programming, digital literacy for seniors and adults with disabilities in Cuyahoga County. We did issue an RFP for these services on June 16th, 2023, and it closed a month later on July 17th, 2023.
All right, so this is the first year in that contract?
Under this new RFP, yes.
Okay, and it's for 3 years or two?
2 years, but I believe there are option years.
Director's here, I believe she's
Yes, we do
here.
have Director Petricola here as well as some of her support staff.
I just had a question, Director.
Sure. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. In regards to, are there, I know these this master contract allows the funding to be moved around if one particular center needs it over others. Has there been any additional sites that have requested to be in this contract? And has there been any discussion where we know moving forward that there's a growing need?
Thank you for both questions. So this particular contract, we have 30 providers.
Excuse me, Ms. Petrocola, can you just state your name for the record, please?
I'm sorry,
Thank you.
Natasha Petrocola, DSAS. For this particular contract, there are 30 providers. There's a 6% increase we built into the amount that they'll be receiving. There were a few providers who tapered off, and then there were a few added additionally to this. I do believe the need will continue, obviously. We did the best we could with the dollars allotted, though, to make sure that those that were previous providers had the opportunity to apply for the RFP and also to receive those funding dollars. And I also have Daphne James here. She is our CSSP guru. She's the one who's responsible and very instrumental in these contracts. Daphne, is there anything you wanted to share?
No, just, we did a little shifting, and I think I've talked to
Excuse me, Ms.
somebody-
James, if you could
I'm
state your
sorry,
name for the record,
Daphne
please.
James,
Thank you.
Division of Senior and Adult Services. As Tasha stated, we built the 6%. We also did a little creative. We added tiers to some of the services where it's not just bingo and stuff like that, or it become more educational and interesting based on some of our surveys. That is what they requested. And each level is at a different funding level to make it more creative and competitive in regards to how their funding is allocated.
Many of these seniors still remain in their homes due to age-friendly. Do we have any connection with our consumer protection program department in terms of all the scams and things that seniors can be impacted with?
Yes, we work very closely with Scam Squad and Consumer Affairs. They actually go to some of our sites, our providers, and they play their Scamo game, and we attend their monthly meetings. So we have several representatives from DSAS who are very instrumental in that ongoing meeting that Cheryl Harris and her team puts on.
Good. I want to open it up to my colleagues. Councilman Miller.
So there was a piece of legislation introduced, I believe, at the last council meeting for the Cleveland Clergy Alliance for $216,000, very similar to item 15. I'm just wondering why it has to be done twice.
The dollars we provided were very specifically allocated for certain services that they're providing, so they may have had an additional request outside of our budget parameters. That's the only thing I can think of, unless. So it's just funding availability. They saw another opportunity to take advantage of.
Okay. And Madam Chair, if I may, I would like to have my name added to this legislation.
All right, Madam Clerk, please add Councilman Miller's name.
And Turner.
And Turner and Conwell and Sweeney, the whole committee. All right. I just brought you up, Director, and Ms. James, because we have to keep a pulse. We know we've heard your presentations before that the need is growing, seniors are living longer, so we just want to keep a pulse on if there's some need in terms of funding that we need to increase any of these services for our individuals in the community. So that's why I brought you guys up, and thank you for giving up your Thanksgiving cooking and coming down.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion for R2023-0336?
So moved.
Moved by Turner, seconded by Conwell. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right.
Madam Chair, was that for second reading? or
Second reading suspension. Thank you. All right, next item, please.
Resolution 2023-0337, making awards on requisition 12904 with various providers in the total amount not to exceed $9,550,000 for various services for the Cuyahoga Options for Independent Living Services program for the period January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2025.
One last time, Marcos Cortez with Health and Human Services on behalf of Senior and Adult Services. This is a new master contract with 24 vendors for the Options for Independent Living program. Options program provides in-home services to seniors and adults with disabilities living in Cuyahoga County who need assistance with larger household chores, medical emergency response services, grab bar installation, homemaking assistance, home-delivered meals, assistance with personal care and/or transportation for medical-related appointments. The overall goal of the Options program is to extend the amount of time a client is able to reside at home before requiring more intensive services. Again, we issued an RFP for this on July 3rd, and it closed a month later on August 4th. We do have some additional new vendors on this one, and I believe we have one vendor who was able to come today, Danica Witten from Essence Health Services, and of course, Natasha Petricola from the division to answer any questions.
Okay, so my question to you, Mr. Cortez, since you said this is the last one that you'll be presenting, why so many at the end of the year? Why, is that just how the timing?
Yeah, so our mandate is to make sure that we don't have late contracts, and so we identified all of the contracts that needed to go to either the county council or to the Board of Control, and worked to make sure that every contract that was required or had a January 1st start time was introduced on time to be able to have an effective date as soon as the budget year opens in January. So we are not impacting payments to vendors. It's just the timing is how everything worked out. A lot of these we started in July to make sure that we could get them in place in time.
Director, what is the oversight over the providers in terms of because I'm assuming these individuals provide staff to go inside the seniors' homes. So what is our oversight?
Natasha Petricola, DSAS again. We do our quality assurance and our audits. We have very close contact with the providers. Cynthia Mason, who happens to be the chief supervisor over the program, talks to these people repeatedly. So does our billing department to ensure there's any questions or problems with anything going on that we can help them in real time. We also do survey our clients to see if the quality of food is up to par, if they're receiving quality service from anyone providing homemaking and personal care. We ensure that, things such as transportation runs smoothly. We do take complaints seriously. If there's a problem with a vendor, we do approach that vendor and we'll talk to them about just what we're learning from our clients.
All right, and who came down, Danica?
She responded that she was coming.
Oh, okay,
but
she's not here?
I
Okay,
don't think.
that's fine. No, people want to do Thanksgiving, and we understand. She just had said she was here, and I didn't want her to, come down and not be able to present. So, any questions, Councilman Sweeney?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, Director Marcos. How are you? Good. Just basically on the comments of why it's done at this particular time, I think it's done because the director's there. And last year we had some complications with the payments, and you heard it, you addressed it, and I'm very appreciative, and I can't thank you enough for the efforts and focus on this particular thing, and just commending you for it. So thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Glad you brought that up, Councilman Sweeney. That was one of my questions. Has the payments fixed itself? And, that's fine. The payments fixed itself, and how are we in that, since we have both of you here?
Sure. Basically, we meet monthly. So contracts, fiscal, and the program managers of each of these programs, including myself, we meet and we ensure that the contracts are running smoothly, that if there are any provider problems, we address them in real time again to ensure spending is done. There is some movement, like you mentioned earlier, Councilwoman Conwell, that we can move dollars around where we see underspending and overspending, and we can amend those contracts to kind of right-size those.
And the way this setup is, that's always going to happen, because then there's seniors that may stay home or, not want to participate in the senior activities at that moment. So it's understandable, and it's very good to be able to fluctuate. Has there been the seniors don't move as frequently as our families do. Has it been kind of stable amongst all the senior centers?
Our clients have been stable. Options does a lot of the in-home senior providing services. Homemaking continues to be an area, though, that we're having a hard time finding vendors and providers to offer that service. So that's kind of the thing that we really closely monitor, and we've always welcomed in this RFP process the opportunity to work with more providers in that regard. But there is a shortage, and what we've done is we've utilized more of our family service aides. So we know that at least 3 clients on average can be seen a day by our family service aides. And we ensure that each one has a schedule that pertains to at least those many clients that they're visiting. So if there's a wait list and options, we try to ensure the clients are seen by our own staff.
In terms of the family service aides, how are we doing in terms of having enough? I know that was part of the early budget discussions.
We're still down about 8 to 10, but we've had a little bit more luck hiring people. It's just retaining them, so it's a difficult field still. I don't think we've seen it level off since pandemic standards have kind of impacted that line of work.
There's, and options, we always ask the question, is there anyone still on a waiting list?
There is a waiting list for homemaking, and we have over 400 clients right now waiting for homemaking services.
Please describe to us and the audience, what does homemaking all entail?
Basically, somebody who does some light housekeeping. They assist with laundry, which we did add a laundry contract, and that should hopefully take the burden of some of those chores away from the senior themselves. But it's light housekeeping, assisting people with things around the house, some meal prep, cleaning up after a client, maybe making the bed, doing the laundry, like I stated, dishes, and preparing meals.
Okay, so when we separate out, how do I understand there's a wait list for just homemaking and not the other things? How does that balance out?
Personal care, we've been able to use our aides if we didn't have an agency able to provide that, which is more of the helping with the toiletry and the bathing and things of that nature. So like I said, we added a laundry contract because we didn't want seniors also climbing up and down stairs. Most of them live in older homes that don't have an upstairs laundry room. We haven't had really issues with the home delivered meals. We haven't had issues with the Life Alert. We haven't had issues with transportation, so those areas are pretty much stable. It's just the continued need for home health aides in the community.
Okay. Remind me later, we'll talk about the laundry service and see if we have some ideas there. To my colleagues, any other questions?
Madam Chair, I was going to ask about the wait list, but you covered it for us.
All right. Thank you. Seeing none, hearing none, can I have a motion to move R 2023-0337 to the full council under second reading suspension?
I so move.
Second.
Moved by Miller, seconded by Turner. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, Madam Clerk, if you could read the next item into the record, please.
Resolution 2023-0345, authorizing an amendment to a contract with Mental Health Services for homeless persons doing business as Frontline Service for coordinated intake services in connection with the Continuum of Care program for the period January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023, to extend the time period to January 31st, 2025, to change the terms effective January 1st, 2024, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $852,257.
Good afternoon, Council, and happy Thanksgiving.
Pre-Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Last but certainly not least, Melissa Serac, Director of the Office of Homeless Services, requesting this amendment with Mental Health Services for homeless persons, also known as Frontline Service, for coordinated intake and assessment. The coordinated entry system is the front door to accessing shelter and housing services for persons experiencing a housing crisis in Cuyahoga County. The 2009 HEARTH Act requires that Continuums of Care establish a coordinated entry system to ensure that those who are most vulnerable and literally homeless are prioritized for the limited resources available for homeless intervention services. Frontline Service operates coordinated intake and assessment locally, providing 24/7 response to identify viable alternatives to entering shelter, assess needs for other emergency services, and link people with the most appropriate housing shelter resource. I think it's important to note that the Office of Homeless Services received a coordinated entry expansion grant through HUD this year for $468,045. Receiving this grant will further strengthen the partnership between Frontline Service and United Way's 211 to further screen and assess calls. It will also allow Frontline Service to hire 4 housing navigators to conduct shelter outreach and aid shelter residents with housing plans, housing applications, and expedite placement. Furthermore, OHS is investing in consultants to facilitate a coordinated entry redesign, which will include a current assessment of our system and our community needs and include community feedback. The redesign will also address the 4 components of coordinated entry, including access, assessment, prioritization, and referral. With me today, I have OHS team member Erin Reardon, as well as Shauna Gurley, Director of Emergency Housing Services from Frontline Service, to answer any additional questions you might have.
All right. I did want to add in, is there any questions for the director?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, Councilman Miller.
Director, my question is just whether in the last couple years there's been any changes made in the process that would be seen by an average person going through the system. Would they be handled any differently than we've done in the past?
Madam Chair, to Councilman Miller, I will start that response, if you don't mind, and look to Shauna to give further detail being involved in the programming. We have made several modifications, especially during COVID, that have remained the same, which is part of why we're doing the redesign. Probably the most obvious to our community would be that they went fully mobile during COVID. They did meet with individuals in person. They'd go down to the Bishop Cosgrove Center, and intakes were done on site. During COVID, Frontline really stepped up to the plate, and not even having a software that really would allow to expand to being fully mobile, but they invested in a system, stood it up, and since have done that full service of assessment and shelter referral fully remote and mobily. And Shauna, I'll look to you to also add.
Good afternoon. My name is Shauna Gurley from Frontline Service, Director of Emergency Housing Services. So for coordinated intake, we have made a significant, with that change going remote, it has made a significant presence for our continuum as a whole and has increased. So going from face to face, we have actually increased our call volume and actually encountering a lot more persons entering into our systems at a faster rate. We also have had an average of 4,900 calls coming in per month. And so that would be typically maybe about 60% of those are calling in to the county, just asking for special inquiries about homeless information, how to prepare for housing. And so that's why we have also worked with the Office of Homeless Services to expand our collaboration with United Way to access more mainstream resources for those that are in need. Because when we opened up our phone line service, it became a mini 211 system. And it basically allowed for all types of questions and instead of direct access to shelter at all times to come into those calls. And so we are prioritizing that now with that expansion.
So, Madam Chair, to the Director, can you give me an estimate of how many homeless people there are in Cuyahoga County at this time that are unsheltered and out on the streets?
Madam Chair, to Councilman Miller, on average, we usually defer to the PIT count. There are 180 individuals that we reported in the 2023 PIT count that were truly unsheltered. And in our shelter system as a whole, on average, we serve 5,000 unduplicated persons and on average 300 families.
That's per year, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to see, is Commissioner Green or Commissioner Garrett here from the city? I didn't see anyone.
They are not.
Okay.
I've confirmed they aren't able to attend, but regarding a North Point update, I do have some information I can at least share, but I did request and offer the opportunity to attend.
Director, if you could give us an update on North Point. And North Point is, for those that may be new, is one of the housing that we have for 18 to 24-year-olds over on, I think it's on Superior Avenue. Yes, Director.
Absolutely. As I mentioned, I did extend the opportunity to both Commissioner Green and Commissioner Garrett to attend today. The city is looking to invest $1,225,109 overall in the upgrades and renovations of the North Point building. It is a two-phased approach. The first phase includes addressing interior improvements, approximately in the amount of $198,684. It includes items such as interior and exterior egress doors, kitchen equipment and mechanical, water heaters, etc. Phase 2 totals approximately $1,041,174 and addresses more of the interior and exterior items such as elevators, flooring, parking lot, drainage, front, and streetscape. The city is preparing a contract on the exterior work right now, which should begin in spring, weather permitting, and the completion should occur within a year from that time, from implementation, and they're still working on confirming the timeline for phase 1, however.
Thank you.
And as you know, these upgrades are extremely needed to ensure we have a decent, safe building for the young folks to stay in.
And City of Cleveland owns that building, so we are very glad that the partners are stepping up to the plate. We don't need the shelters looking like the outside. We need them to be able to be warm, safe, and dry, and clean, and safe. So any other questions for the director or for Frontline?
So, Madam Chair, to the director, just a comment that we put additional money in the budget for the operation of the shelters after the renovations are completed. We don't know exactly what that number is going to end up being, but we wanted to make a start. Thank you.
To all of council, thank you. Extremely grateful on this Thanksgiving Day. I was not fully aware of that addition, so thank you so much. It's a heavy lift on behalf of our office and the partners, so we appreciate your ongoing support.
So the number we put in was an additional $500,000 for 2024 and $1 million for 2025.
Thank you.
Thank you. I forgot that, Councilman Miller. It's good to have the finance chair with you.
It feels like Christmas, but it's Thanksgiving tomorrow.
We have a lot to be thankful for.
Thank you.
All right. So I'll make a motion to move to R2023. 0345 to the full council on second reading suspension. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, moved by Conwell, seconded by Turner. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Next item, Madam Clerk, can you read into the record?
Resolution 2023-0346, authorizing an amendment to a contract with Mental Health Services for Homeless Persons Incorporated, doing business as Frontline Service, for temporary housing for single adults and youth at North Point Transitional Housing, located at 1550 Superior Avenue, Cleveland, for the period January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2024, to change the terms effective January 1st, 2024, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $1,422,933.
Melissa Surratt, Director of the Office of Homeless Services, requesting this amendment with Frontline Service for the North Point program. Frontline Service operates North Point, serving single adults and youth age 18 to 24. Residential services are provided 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The program provides for basic needs such as hygiene products, clothing, laundry services, and 3 meals a day. Services focus on individuals with high barriers to housing stability and provide wraparound support. North Point's case managers provide linkage to services that will assist clients in securing permanent housing and achieving self-sufficiency through a housing first model. With me today, I have OHS team member Erin Reardon, as well as Shauna Gurley, Director of Emergency Housing Services with Frontline.
And Erin Reardon, did you say?
Yes.
Any questions from my colleagues? All right, hearing none, seeing none. All right, so you, Director, you said 3 meals a day, hygiene products, you said navigation for housing?
Yes, for the young adults, yes. Employment as well.
Housing navigation. Employment. Anything else you, Ms. Gurley, that you'd like to share?
Thank you. No, not really. I think that I just want to say that even though we have, our building may not be the most remarkable space, we like to also say that we create this safe harbor for those that are in need and need a second chance to succeed. So we appreciate you all hearing us today and allowing us this opportunity.
Well, one of my directions that I've been trying to have conversations with is we have a lot of nonprofits here in Cuyahoga County, and the funding that we provide in contract is basically for administrative or direct services. It really doesn't go to helping an organization maintain their buildings. And we know with congregate settings where a lot of people stay, whether it's college dorms or whatever, there's always need some funding in terms of maintaining. So just know that we're, at least it's on my mind to try to think and how we can do better in the future. So once we spend all these millions of dollars in renovating, we can actually maintain them. So I just wanted to say that. I'll make a motion to move R2023-0346 to the full council under second reading suspension. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. I think I heard Miller. So Conwell, it's been moved by Conwell, seconded by Miller. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I did hear you, Turner. He just was first that I heard. Madam Clerk, if you could read, is it the last?
Second last.
The next item in the record, please.
Not least.
Resolution 2023-0347, authorizing a contract with the Salvation Army in the amount not to exceed $794,821 for supportive services for homeless men in the Pickup Assessment Sheltering Service Transitional Housing Program for the period October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2024.
Melissa Serac, Director of the Office of Homeless Services, requesting this amendment for the PASS program with the Salvation Army. The Pickup Assessment Sheltering Service, also known as PASS program, provides temporary housing, rapid rehousing, and recovery support services to homeless men, serving 75 men at any given time, and an average of 150 to 200 men annually. The overarching goal of the PASS program is for the men to obtain permanent housing through the utilization of an individualized Housing First case management plan. The plan focuses on leveraging local resources and HUD rapid rehousing funds to transition homeless men into permanent placement. With me today, I have Aaron Reardon from OHS, as well as myself to answer any additional questions that you might have.
I'm just wondering, Director, when we have the PASS program, is that inclusive of veteran men as well? Or okay, all right. And it's a lot easier, I'm hoping, to get veterans to find housing because they have more resources. Is that?
We do have more resources, and we do have a very strong supportive network wrapped around them with the continuum from the point of them entering coordinated entry. They are then flagged if they are, in fact, a veteran, and then passed off to actually the veteran team that then determines eligibility for what services and placement from there for the case management.
Right, and is this a new, well, this is just extending?
I believe this is utilizing our option year.
Okay, utilizing option
No.
year, okay.
Sorry, I should read. My contract guru, excuse me.
Aaron Reardon, Office of Homeless Services. This is a new contract.
New contract, okay. And so the RFP won't be needed till around when? What is it, 3 years? Well, this is only going a year, I'm saying.
Yes, so this is grant funded, so it was an
Okay.
RFP exemption.
Okay.
Typically, I mean, it's a grant that we receive on an annual basis. We obviously don't know for sure that we're going to get it every year, so we do like to just do a single.
And who's the grant from?
It's from HUD.
HUD, okay,
It's part of our COC application.
gotcha. Okay, it's in the big,
Yeah, and that is, so it is competitively procured through that process, through our review and ranking process, just not through the county RFP process.
okay, so the PASS program has been, for how long? We've had that a number of years, right? So in previous years, if we were not funded by HUD, we provided that funding for the past program?
Melissa Surratt, Director, Office of Homeless Services. Yes, this has been a steadfast program that has been awarded through HUD. It is a combination of both levy funding as well as HUD. Looking at the percentage here, 31% is provided through levy. So if it were not to be funded, we would, of course, look to other resources, not solely levy, but that would be given for consideration.
Okay, so 33% is.
31% is levy and 69% is through HUD's rapid rehousing.
Just want to keep that on our radar. Any questions from my colleagues? Seeing none, hearing none. All right, any additional information, Director or Ms. Reardon, you'd like to share? Nope. Okay, we're getting closer and closer to turkey time. So R2023-037, can I have a motion to move that to the council for second reading suspension?
So moved.
Second.
All right, moved by Sweeney, seconded by Miller. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. I'm getting tired, guys. Madam Clerk, I believe this is the last one.
Yes, ma'am. Resolution 2023-0348, authorizing a contract with Emerald Development and Economic Network Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $993,190 for facility management services for the Norma Her Women's Shelter located at 2227 Payne Avenue, Cleveland, for the period January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2025.
Melissa Surratt, Director of the Office of Homeless Services, with my last request for a contract with Emerald Development and Economic Development, Eden, Inc., for Norma Hare Women's Shelter Facilities Management. Eden, Inc. owns and manages the property located at 2227 Payne Avenue. This site houses the Norma Hare Community Women's Center, which serves Cuyahoga County as a low-barrier shelter for single adult women. As the owner of the building, Eden will provide property management services to ensure the building remains in compliance with local requirements, as well as OHS Advisory Board-approved shelter standards. Services will include ongoing maintenance of the facility due to its age and intensive use, 24/7 on-call response for emergency repairs, normal maintenance and repairs, and staffing and services for custodial and housekeeping, insurance coverage, utility cost, asset management, and groundkeeping. With me today, I have Executive Director Elaine Gimmel from Eden to answer any additional questions you might have.
All right, first, do we have any questions for Director Surratt? Councilman Sweeney.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Both of you. It's just, we've been hearing about this for a very, very long time. Eden is a great partner. Is this the regular maintenance contract of the facility? Is that?
This is just to cover the original Norma Hare, correct?
And give me the update on the whole. Can you just take 3 or 4 minutes to give me the update on what's happening there?
Sure.
In regards to the new facility, what we have going on here, the bathrooms are really bad, but we're going to, I mean,
Sure.
as much as I can so I can absorb it. Through the chair, of course.
Good afternoon. My name's Elaine Gimmel. I'm the Executive Director of Emerald Development and Economic Network, otherwise known as Eden. We are the owner of the property. And to give an update just where we are with the rehab and expansion, we have almost all of the funding secured. We are waiting on a few contracts, one with the county and a few with the city. And so we had to currently start work on the 2227 Payne Avenue. We had funds from the city of Cleveland that we had to spend out. So we do have a contract with Drake Construction. So we have started some renovations on the current Payne Avenue site. We have acquired the site behind it, which was on East 23rd, so that we can expand. One of the, I think, biggest barriers has been trying to find swing space to move some of the residents to. We identified one location. It was extremely expensive, so we had to not engage with that particular space. We had another second space possibly identified, but there was going to be renovations to that particular property, and the timing was not going to work out, as well as it would then put that property owner into Uniform Relocation Act guidelines, which are very expensive, and so that site fell through. We are hoping that this third site that we have identified, that we will acquire before the end of December. There are a couple months of renovations that we'll need to do in order to move approximately 104 guests there. That will then still leave guests at the current Payne Avenue site, but we'll be able to work on one, building. There's two separate buildings there, 2219, 2227. So that would allow us to then do work on that. If the contracts come through, we can then start on the East 23rd site. That would take approximately 12 to 15 months of construction. And we would then be able to transfer the remaining guests there. And then once we're done with Payne Avenue, move the guests from the swing site back to Payne Avenue. This is a very large project. There's a lot of moving parts. We thought we'd be able to start on the second site and then go to Payne Avenue, but due to funding and limitations, we had to start on Payne Avenue first. So this is not ideal. I do appreciate the county, city, and everybody's patience. The county has been walking kind of side by side with us, trying to help along the way. And so it will be a 2-year process to get everything completed. We know it is not ideal right now. We are meeting with the YWCA, the Office of Homeless Services, biweekly. We do currently have a guest who is a liaison working with Drake Construction, so that she's kind of the voice of the residents, as well as being kept up to date on everything that is happening, with these renovations. And if you have any specific questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Yeah, and through the chair, you're a true partner, and you're trying to figure out something that's kind of a little bit of a mess now. That's how I see it, and I give you kudos. I want you to breathe. It's gonna get done, and how much you have to go through to get it done. And taking care of the guests, as you say, and keeping it within budget and managing all the different components of this journey is very difficult, and you should be commended for it. With the residents, are they being, because you have the liaison through the construction folks, you said?
We have a liaison that is currently residing at the shelter. She's a guest, but she actually is working directly with Drake Construction. So she's employed by them, so that she's able to understand from the construction side what's happening, as well as being a guest of the shelter. We did have a meeting with the guests of the shelter, and we'll be scheduling another one. Okay. We're just, again, trying to make sure that we have, I guess, accurate information, and we know exactly what's happening, because I know that there's a lot of misinformation, but trying to know what our timeline is. So yes, we did have one meeting. We'll be having another one.
And through the chair, that's what I was going to get to, and you just jumped right to it. It's open, transparent, difficult meeting, not difficult meeting, as long as information is shared by both parties that everybody can hear, that we can have some factual understanding of what the words came out of everybody's mouth. We can take some of the static noise and leave it on the side. So that's what I appreciate this, and I'm here to help manage through this from whatever role I can have with my magic pen. And don't be shy to activate me, and if I get activated, you don't like it, you can deactivate me.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Oh, you're welcome.
If I may just add to, we will definitely need the support and activation. Hopefully, if this third location comes to fruition, we will, of course, be looking for council's support. There is no more urgency that could possibly be except in this moment, as we have the increasing census at Norma Hare of over 200 ladies a night, which we know is not ideal. We have construction happening on top of them, which we know is not ideal. So I appreciate your offer and look, hopefully, for everyone's support in firming up that option to move forward in the very near future. May I also add, I'm sorry, just out of having concern for the increase in census, I also want to note that thanks to county leadership approval, dollars were also approved for the YWCA to use for direct cash transfer. So there are some options being offered to the clients where if they're able to mediate with an aunt or identify some alternative location, we do have some funding to help them reduce census in the interim while we work on this obviously cumbersome and complex plan of making this transition, which at the end of the day will provide more safe, humane, and dignifying space.
All right, I have two questions for Director Gemmell. Happy pre-Thanksgiving. One would be, I just want to be clear in terms of, as we rotate women out to hopefully the swing site, will it, since it's two buildings, will it just be the ones that are in the building that's going to have the construction, or will it be equitably distributed amongst all the the individuals that stay there?
So we'll be working with the YWCA to determine who should go to the swing space. Eden does not know all of the guest situations. Currently, there could be issues with mobility impairments, things like that. So I think we need to look at each of the guests to determine which of them would go over there. But it would, again, accommodate about 104 guests. And there would be YWCA staff at the swing space as well as Eden staff.
Makes sense. But I've worked in that environment, so I do know that you need to be fair in all that you do. My second question would be, since we're doing these major renovations and we finally have some dollars to do what has been needed for a long time, how will your organization maintain maintenance upkeep?
So our hope is that we would be increasing the staff that would be on site. Currently, we have one maintenance tech. We would be doubling that. We would also hope to add a property manager. I think that's something that maybe we've been missing with the current site, just to be working with the YWCA more closely as well as the guests. Oftentimes it's me or some of the higher level staff, but I think we need somebody that's there on site to be addressing some of the issues that come up more quickly. Obviously, there's going to be an increase in, cleaning. The expansion is going to have individual bathrooms in those rooms, as well as that's going to be part of the Payne Avenue site. And so, we're going to have to increase cleaning, utilities. So there's just a lot of additional responsibility, as well as probably funding that we're going to need for the, pretty much doubling the site and capacity.
Okay, can you send us a list, a current list of all of the types of, I'm assuming that you have kind of like a maintenance list of, how often toilets go down, how often showers go down, just to give us some idea. We all the time have public comment that is presented to council of different issues, so I always like to keep my pulse on, what's going on to make sure that those areas are being addressed. And so since we have a chance for a new building, it'd be kind of nice to know what that maintenance schedule is going to be and how we address going forward.
Absolutely, and I will say that, because of the kind of high census right now and some of the limitations, I know that cleaning has been an issue, and I know we've heard that complaint. So we have met with our contractor several times, but we are going to be working with the YWCA to do a deep cleaning once a week. It is really hard with everybody being in the building to do that, so they are going to be just asking the guests to leave during the day, one day a week, so that we can get in to do a deep cleaning, because it is almost impossible with the number of guests there to really do a thorough job right now.
Yes, Councilman.
Just the weather might be difficult for that. So it'd be a balance of I don't want to,
Yeah.
it's 20 degrees, you got to go, you
Absolutely.
just have to
Yeah.
manage that. Okay, thank you.
Quick question,
Councilwoman?
or two. Are there any, or what are the supportive services that are available for homeless individuals coming from the reentry community? Will there be any designated services or space for them in the new facility? Anything happening at Salvation or Norma Her?
Madam Chair, to Councilwoman Turner, that is a very good question. I think we're still working through some of those determinations. We have several buildings coming online across our system, such as 2020 Lakeside, which I'm excited. Hopefully the ribbon cutting will be next month. And then also Zippity Print, which will be a gender-neutral building by regulations, financial resource regulations. So we will have to assess how our individuals prioritize based on vulnerability, which we already do, but how do we further customize that service? So to that point, to your question, there might be space for LGBTQ specifically, for older adults who are especially vulnerable, that we don't want in shelter. It's really going to be, in my mind, at the end of the day, one whole inventory, and everything is customized based on the vulnerability of the population.
Okay.
I don't know if you'd add anything.
And final question.
Add one thing.
Yes, please.
Sorry, I got to keep putting the mic up, that people that are coming from reentry do qualify for many of the homeless programs, because we do try to have low barrier to people qualifying, and whether that's for rapid rehousing, permanent supported housing, criminal background shouldn't be a barrier to people getting into the programs that the Continuum oversees.
Okay. And then my last question is, as the chairwoman has wished us all happy Thanksgiving multiple times, what does your world look like for the next 24 hours for this population on a holiday?
Trying.
No, I would just say that as of late, it's just been, you go home to your home, your warm bed, and you can't help but think about the clients or the participants that we're serving and we're not able to serve these days. And I think it's just, it's really stressful for many of the providers, but it is the people on the streets, in the shelter, even in our housing that just struggle. And so it's I would say difficult, because you can't help but know that you're going home, but there's still so much work that is not done that we can't get to.
Thank you for sharing that.
I would just add more than one word, so that I'm saying more than one word. Being someone that started right before COVID, never would I have said anything is tougher than COVID, but we are struggling. My office and others. It's tough.
Well, thank you for the work that you do, and I know tomorrow's going to be a challenge. Are there any volunteer opportunities in any of the facilities tomorrow?
That's a great question. Many of them, I always used to say this in my Catholic Charities world, the need is year-round. Truly, they're usually pretty well stocked with helping hands for the holidays. If you were to call Norma here, let's say, or 2100 directly, they'd be more than welcoming to the assisted hands. But I would say the need is year-round. So sometimes they even allow individuals to drop in. So should someone be compelled, I would encourage them to show up at the site.
Well, while we're giving thanks, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your support.
Council Miller.
I would just comment that, yes, there are problems, but compared to where we are around the rest of the country, we're running a very, very good homeless program. And I think that's part of the reason why you're struggling with numbers. We attract people who can't get services elsewhere, and the better you do, the more you attract, and then the harder it makes it. So it kind of good work creates additional problems. That's one of the contradictions that you face. So I just thank you for everything you do and wish you the best of success. We'll do everything we can to help.
All right, and speaking to, so our hearts go out to the individuals, guests that have to stay in any type of environment instead of their own home. When I spoke to Executive Director Forbes Fields the other day, you forget these things being on the policy side, but there's also in reaching out to her for another need. They only have a warming kitchen at the moment. So the meals are actually not prepared there at the women's shelter until the renovations and things are done. So they won't get the smell of, the the turkey and all that being cooked, like many of us will. So as we sit around, as Councilwoman Turner said, sit around our tables, give thanks and a prayer out to those that will not be able to do that directly. So in any movement to the full council on second reading suspension, R2023-0347, can I have a motion and a second?
Also move.
Moved by Miller. Second. Seconded by Sweeney. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
The only thing I need to say in regards to miscellaneous business, and then I can open it up to my colleagues. Me and Director Sirek spoke this weekend. We had, it was, I think last weekend, my days. But anyway, I was given a call from a provider that had just finished the free dental clinic. And they always provide food at those dental or eye clinics, fresh vegetables and things of that nature. There was a lot left over. And so they reached out to me, where do we send all these crates of, potatoes, it's around Thanksgiving, so you're thinking about all those things. So I did reach out to Director Sirek in terms of would any of the shelters be available. It was Saturday at 4 o'clock, I remember, because I'm like, who's going to be open on Saturday at 4 o'clock? But what came out of that, even though we were unable to get the vegetables and the produce to someone that could use them in that short of time, we did understand the need that in case we have something like that happens again, in the community, that we have a connection or we have a plan. So that's what's coming out of it. We will have a plan, as well as the directors. I think I spoke to Director of YWCA in regards to that. I missed Elaine's call back, but and going forward, that's a good thing that comes of it. So we might not have been able to help initially, but in the future, we will expand and try to be able to coordinate where food can go to individuals and have people available to receive them as long as we're given at least 24 hours notice. So any other miscellaneous business from anyone else? Councilman Miller.
So, Madam Chair, I would just like to point out that we put $200,000 in the budget in the director's office for the various agencies to conduct strategic plans. But we're still looking for you to work with the director and the agencies to figure out exactly what that's going to look like and how that's going to be done. But I just want to say that I support that effort, and if there's anything further that I can do to assist in that process, I would be happy to do so. Thank you.
He's like my right hand, so I forget many things. So me and Administrator Merriman did discuss that yesterday in our meeting, and Administrator Merriman, if you would come up and share what the discussion that we collaborated for.
Once again, David Merriman, Director of Health and Human Services. I got to admit, I was checking emails. Can you remind me, what's the issue we were
talking about the strategic plan.
I thought that was the case. I didn't want to assume, but I was checking emails. So there is just some awareness. There's an effort underway within the administration to create a broader strategic plan. And I think that's important work, and we'll support it fully. Several of our departments, as you well know, have strategic plans already. The Office of Homeless Services is one good example. There's also a housing plan within the reentry community. There's a reentry office. There's a plan that's being developed for DSAS. And then there's some interest to have a plan for the Office of Early Childhood. As a result of there being existing plans in some departments and the creation of a plan that will be coming from the administration, what we've decided to do is we're going to create action plans for all of our departments that don't have a strategic plan. We want them to be able to speak to what they intend to accomplish over the next 2 years and major new initiatives or initiatives that are coming in and how they'll judge those initiatives and work that needs to be done. We hope that that action plan concept will enable us to be clear with council and the community what our priorities are, and then also put us in a position to respond to new direction on where the county's going, what are the goals of this administration, and our role in achieving those goals, while also maintaining our operational responsibilities. I should acknowledge, for the most part, our services are driven by federal and state mandates, for which we don't always have a ton of control of. We do have operational opportunities where we can apply local innovation, and that's the challenge. That's the game that we're trying to respond to.
You're welcome. I just wanted to add to that I think Invest in Children is doing a strategic plan. So we ironed out the details and what the premise of this money can help getting those directors of those agencies to be able to put their verbiage and their mission and which way they need to go into the overall administrative strategic plan.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Just in the theme of Thanksgiving, I'm very thankful for all the coworkers we have helping move this Cuyahoga County forward, but most thankful for our dedicated staff that sit back there every day and put up with 20 or 11 different personalities. And it works very, very.
What do you mean 11? They only put up with one.
And it's like a family, so I just wanted to throw that out, and it just killed my sentimental moment. It wasn't delivered that well.
I had to say. Now you're letting everybody know it was you. Well, everybody didn't know it was you. We are a family, and we're very thankful for our staff, as Councilman Sweeney said. And if there's nothing further from anyone, this meeting is adjourned.